You sign a 30-year contract and think you're buying freedom. You're not. You've just bought the guarantee that you'll be working for the next 3 decades without being able to stop. Homeownership has become the most socially accepted asset to transform your entire life into a race against the clock, and you celebrate on the day you sign as if you've achieved something. You have. You've acquired a ball and chain tied to your ankle. The American dream has always had a clear script. You study, get a job, buy a house, pay for it for 30 years, and then live in peace. It seems reasonable. Everyone does it. Your parents did it. Your neighbors are doing it. The bank approves. The realtor congratulates you. Society validates. You're not just buying a house. You're buying acceptance. You're buying the feeling that you're finally doing the right thing. You're buying the right to say you're no longer throwing money away on rent. And it really does seem logical. Rent is money thrown away. Financing is an investment. You pay for it yourself. In the end, the property is yours. It makes sense, but it makes sense within a narrative that has never been tested against the reality of the numbers, because nobody shows you the complete picture. Nobody sits down with you and outlines what will really happen in the next 30 years. And there's a reason for that. Here's what really happened. You finance a house for $400,000, average interest rate of 7% per year lately, monthly payment of approximately $2,600 for 30 years. You look at it and think, I can afford it. But wait, at the end of that period, you haven't paid $400,000. You've paid $940,000, more than double the value of the house. In interest alone, you've given $540,000 to the bank. $500,000 that will never come back. But that's not the main problem. The problem is that those $2,600 a month don't exist in isolation. They never exist in isolation. There's mandatory home insurance, between $1,500 and $3,000 a year, depending on the state, the value of the house, and the coverage. There's property tax. The national average is 1.1% of the property value per year. On a $400,000 house, that's $4,400 annually. That's more than $360 a month. But there's a catch. The value of the house goes up over time, so this tax goes up along with it. In 15 years, you're not paying tax on $400,000. You're paying on $600,000, $700,000. The tax follows suit. It requires maintenance. A general rule in the American real estate market: set aside 1% of the house's value annually for maintenance. That's another $4,000 a year. That's $330 a month. Air conditioning breaks down, the heater fails, the faucet leaks, the garden needs tending, the paint peels. All of this is a recurring cost. And then there's structural repairs. A roof lasts between 20 and 30 years. Replacing it costs between $8,000 and $25,000. Plumbing systems age. Electrical systems need upgrades. Every 10 or 15 years, you'll be spending between $15,000 and $40,000 on something major. When you add it all up, that installment of $2,600 easily becomes $3,500 or $4,000 per month in real cost. And that's just the visible cash flow. Because there's the invisible cost. You put in 20% upfront, $80,000. If you had invested that in the S&P 500 with a historical average return of 10% per year, in 30 years, it would be $1,400,000. You traded that potential for a real estate asset that requires a constant drain of money. And does the appreciation in property value compensate? The average appreciation of real estate in the United States over the last 30 years has been approximately 3.5 to 4% per year. Less than inflation in many periods, less than any market index. You paid $940,000 over 30 years for an asset that may be worth $800,000 at the end. Where is the investment? But the worst part isn't financial. The worst part is structural. The worst part is what happens to your life. When you sign that contract, you're not just committing to paying. You're committing to not being able to stop earning money. Lost your job? The payments continue. Want to move to another city because a better opportunity came up? You're stuck. Want to change careers and earn less for a while to build something new? You can't. The house has become the yardstick by which you measure all your decisions. You no longer choose the job you want. You choose the job that pays for your house. You don't choose where you want to live. You already chose that 10 years ago, and now you're paying for it. You don't have geographic mobility. You have a fixed asset that requires a fixed income. Freedom and 30-year financing don't coexist. They never have. That's the central contradiction of the American dream. It sells you freedom while trapping you. Want to know what it's like to grow old trapped? It's working. In the same job that no longer satisfies you because the payment is due on the 10th. It's turning down opportunities in another city because selling your house now would mean a loss. It's staying in a bad relationship because separating means dividing assets, and nobody can afford a house alone. It's not being able to take a sabbatical year, not being able to take risks, not being able to make mistakes, because mistakes mean falling behind, and falling behind means losing everything. And people don't realize this because the entire system was designed to hide this trap. The bank doesn't show you the total cost. It shows you the monthly payment. It shows you if you qualify. It shows you how much of a house you can buy. It never shows you how much of your life you'll lose. The real estate agent doesn't talk about the increasing taxes and expensive maintenance. They talk about appreciation. They talk about the good neighborhood. They talk about the nearby school. They talk about everything except what really matters. Culture doesn't discuss opportunity cost. It discusses whether you're throwing money away on rent, as if paying interest, taxes, and maintenance isn't also throwing money away, as if mobility has no value, as if flexibility is worthless. The narrative is shielded from questioning, because questioning homeownership is questioning the very foundation of the American dream. And nobody wants to be the person saying that the dream is a lie. And there's a reason for this protection. The American real estate industry moves more than $3 trillion a year. Banks profit from long-term interest. A 30-year mortgage is a river of guaranteed money. Brokers profit from sales commission. 6% of the house's value is divided between buyer and seller. On a $400,000 house, that's $24,000 in commission. Local governments profit from property tax. It's the largest source of revenue for American municipalities. Insurance companies make billions. Maintenance, renovation, decoration, and gardening companies. Everyone wins when you buy a house with a mortgage. Everyone except you. You go into this thinking you're building wealth. You're building dependency. Because now you need forced stability. You need the job you hate because the alternative is unemployment. And unemployment with a mortgage is guaranteed disaster. You need the city you no longer want because selling now means losing. Money? You need to accept a salary that doesn't satisfy you because negotiating is risky. And risky is dangerous when you have a fixed payment. All because the payment is due on the 10th. And if you're 3 months late, the bank forecloses. You lose the house. You lose all the years of payment. You lose the down payment. You lose everything. Meanwhile, renters have mobility. They can move to another city in 30 days if a better opportunity arises. They can accept a job in another state without fear. They can quickly reduce fixed costs if they temporarily lose income. They can invest the difference between rent and mortgage payments in liquid assets that yield more and can be sold in seconds. They can change neighborhoods as life changes. Children are born, move closer to school. Children leave home, move to a smaller, cheaper place. There's no property tax eating into income every year. There's no unexpected maintenance destroying the budget. There's no risk of real estate market devaluation. There's no immobility. Sure, you don't have the asset at the end, but is it really worth having an asset that cost twice as much, required 3 decades of financial hardship, and will still cost another $200,000 in renovations and maintenance along the way? Is it worth having a paid-off house at 60 if you've spent 30 years unable to risk anything, unable to change, unable to try? I know this kind of analysis isn't comfortable. It's not what you hear everywhere. It's not what the market wants you to know. But that's exactly why this channel exists. to expose structures that drain money and freedom while selling security. If you want to keep seeing analyses like this, subscribe to the channel and leave a like. Because the more people question these narratives, the fewer people will fall for them without even knowing what they're signing up for. The issue isn't whether owning a home is bad. The issue is that 30-year mortgages have become synonymous with success when in reality they're synonymous with immobility. It's become the complete package of the American dream. Study, work, buy, pay, be free. But freedom never arrives. Because when you finish paying, you're too old to use the freedom you have left. And nobody questions the package, because questioning it means admitting that maybe you made the wrong choice. And nobody wants to admit that after signing up and spending 15 years paying. So people defend it. They construct an emotional narrative. They say that renting is throwing money away, that owning a home is security, that it's for the children's future, that it's a guaranteed investment, that property always appreciates, that it's better to pay for yourself than for the owner. But a guaranteed investment doesn't tie you down for 30 years. It doesn't force you to maintain a high income until you're 60. It doesn't prevent you from changing your life. It doesn't make you a hostage to the calendar. The American dream isn't a trap because someone planned to harm you. It's a trap because it works perfectly for everyone but you. The bank receives interest for 30 years. The government receives increasing taxes. The broker receives an immediate commission. The insurance company receives an annual premium. And you receive an illiquid asset that demands decades of forced stability. So here's a simple exercise. Before buying a house with a mortgage, take a piece of paper. Add up total paid in 30 years, projected taxes, estimated maintenance, opportunity cost of the down payment. Look at that total number, not the monthly payment. Look at the final number. Then ask yourself, am I buying equity or am I buying a liability? If you already have financing, do another test. If you lost your job for 6 months tomorrow, would your house be an asset or a threat? That's the kind of question almost no one asks before signing. If this type of analysis changes the way you see money, freedom, and structural decisions, subscribe to the channel and leave a like. Here, we don't sell comfortable dreams, we dismantle structures. And now I want to know from you, would you rather have a paid-off property at 60 or have mobility and the ability to choose your life at 35? Comment below. I want to see who still believes that 30 years of debt equals freedom. See you soon.